On the 11th of July 1972, Revelle Balmain was born in Manly, New South Wales. She was the daughter of Jan and Ivor Balmain. Before Revelle was born, the family suffered the devastating loss of her older brother, Matthew, who drowned as a toddler. Friends later said Revelle was treasured by her parents, and she grew up in a loving and supportive home. Her mother, Jan, was a dance teacher, and dance became an important part of Revelle's life from an early age. As she grew older, that passion developed into a career in modelling and entertainment. Family and friends remembered Revelle as confident, outgoing, generous, and fun-loving. She enjoyed being around people, made friends easily, and approached life with optimism. Those qualities remained with her as she entered adulthood and began pursuing opportunities in the entertainment industry. By her early 20s, Revelle had established herself as both a dancer and a model. She had already completed 3 6-week contracts in Japan, working as a hostess in cabaret venues, and was building a portfolio of modelling work in Australia. Only weeks before her disappearance, she appeared on the cover of Oyster magazine, reflecting the progress she was making within the modelling industry. Alongside her modelling and dance work, Revelle worked part-time as an escort through Sydney agencies, including Select Companions. Her family, friends and employer consistently described the work as a means to an end. It provided an income while she pursued the career she ultimately wanted. By late 1994, Revelle was preparing to return to Japan, this time on a 6-month contract. Before travelling overseas, she was due to travel to Brisbane for rehearsals. Her boyfriend, Piers Fisher Pollard, later recalled how excited she was about the opportunity, while family and friends said she had made plans that extended well beyond the coming weeks. As her departure approached, Revelle organised the practical details of the journey. She planned to meet her mother, Jan, at Newcastle railway station for a farewell lunch before continuing with her travel arrangements. Everything about those plans reflected someone focused on the future. Sydney in the mid-1990s had a busy nightlife, an active modelling industry and a well-established escort scene. Through her work, Revelle became part of that world and formed friendships within it. Those who knew her, however, consistently said she saw escort work as temporary. Her ambition remained centred on dancing, modelling and the opportunities waiting for her overseas. Photographs from the time show a striking young woman who appeared comfortable in front of the camera. Family and friends remembered someone with clear ambitions, a strong work ethic, and genuine excitement about the future. By the beginning of November 1994, Revelle's departure was only days away. She still had a handful of commitments to complete before travelling to Brisbane, and then continuing on to Japan for what she hoped would be the next stage of her career. This is her story. Saturday, the 5th of November 1994, began as an ordinary day for Revelle Balmain. At around lunchtime, she parted ways with her boyfriend, Piers Fisher Pollard. Piers later recalled putting Revelle on a bus to visit friends in Paddington before she began work that afternoon. The couple planned to meet for drinks later that evening. Revelle had 2 escort appointments scheduled through Select Companions that day. The agency required its escorts to telephone the office when they arrived at a booking and again when the appointment had finished. The system allowed the agency to confirm appointments and monitor the safety of its escorts. Revelle's first booking was with 31-year-old Gavin Owen Samer at his home in McNair Avenue, Kingsford. At 3:50 p.m, she telephoned the agency to report she had arrived. She then entered the McNair Avenue residence. Approximately 2 hours later, at 5:50 p.m, Revelle telephoned Select Companions again to advise that the appointment had finished. According to evidence later heard during the coronial inquest, Revelle told Samer that he would be her final client because she was leaving escort work. Despite reporting that the booking had ended, Revelle remained at the McNair Avenue address. At approximately 7:15 p.m, she telephoned her friend Kate Brentnall. The conversation was brief. Revelle told Kate she was leaving and suggested they meet for a drink at the Royal Hotel in Paddington. Kate agreed. It was the last confirmed conversation anyone had with Revelle. According to Samer, Revelle left the McNair Avenue house shortly afterwards. Her second appointment that evening was scheduled for 10 p.m. at the Swiss Grand Hotel in Bondi, where she was due to meet two friends of Select Companions co-owner Zoran Stanojevic. She never arrived, nor did she arrive at the Royal Hotel to meet Kate Brentnall. As Saturday evening became Sunday morning, concern began to grow among those expecting to see her. When Revelle failed to meet him for drinks and could not be contacted, Piers Fisher Pollard reported her missing later that Saturday evening. The following morning, Sunday, the 6th of November, Revelle was due to catch the 9:30 a.m. train from Sydney to Newcastle. Her mother, Jan Balmain, was waiting at Newcastle railway station, where they had arranged to meet at 11 a.m. for a farewell lunch. Revelle never arrived. Later that afternoon, Jan attended Nelson Bay Police Station and made a formal missing person report. By the end of the weekend, 2 separate missing person reports had been made by the people closest to Revelle. When Revelle's boyfriend first reported her missing late on Saturday the 5th of November, no immediate search was launched. Police initially believed there was insufficient information to suggest anything suspicious had occurred, and the disappearance was not treated as an urgent investigation that night. It was only after Revelle failed to arrive in Newcastle on Sunday morning, and a second missing person report was made by her mother, Jan Balmain, that the investigation began in earnest. In the days that followed, reports began coming in that items belonging to Revelle had been found in Kingsford. The discoveries were all made within the vicinity of the McNair Avenue house where Revelle had last been seen. Among the items recovered were her diary, keys, credit cards, cane makeup bag, and the plastic cradle from her pager. Detectives also recovered her distinctive shell-studded cork-heeled platform shoes, with one shoe found in a rubbish bin. Her passport and airline ticket were also located nearby. Some reports also identified her birth certificate among the recovered items. The belongings had not been left together. Instead, they were scattered across 4 streets, including areas near Ainslie Street and Avoca Street. The pattern immediately raised questions. Why had Revelle's belongings been separated? And how had they become dispersed across several streets? As the search continued, another witness contacted police. The witness reported hearing tyres skidding, followed by what they believed was a woman's scream. Moments later, they saw a dark-coloured Holden Commodore leave the area at speed. According to the witness, several people were inside the vehicle. One occupant stood out because of what was described as a surfy sort of haircut. The vehicle was never identified. Investigators also turned their attention to Revelle's final confirmed appointment. Gavin Owen Samer told police he had driven Revelle to the Red Tomato Inn after she left his house before returning home. He said he spent the remainder of the evening watching Hey Hey, It's Saturday, drank a bottle of Strongbow cider and later went to bed. Samer also told investigators he had paid the $400 fee for Revelle's services after pawning his then-girlfriend's clarinet to obtain the money. Police later spoke with staff and patrons from the Red Tomato Inn, but none recalled seeing either Samer or Revelle that evening. When detectives first interviewed Samer, they noted scratches to his neck, chest and hands, along with what appeared to be a bite mark. Samer told police the injuries had been caused while surfing. As Revelle's disappearance attracted increasing public attention, newspapers published her photograph alongside appeals for information. Police asked anyone who had seen her in Kingsford, Paddington or Bondi on the evening of the 5th of November to come forward. By the end of 1994, Revelle Balmain had still not been found. Her belongings had been recovered. A number of witnesses had come forward, but there was still no confirmed sighting of Revelle after her telephone conversation with Kate Brentnall at approximately 7:15 p.m. on the 5th of November 1994. Nearly 5 years after Revelle Balmain disappeared, the case entered the coronial jurisdiction. In 1998, Deputy State Coroner John Abernethy commenced an inquest to examine the evidence gathered during the investigation and determine, if possible, what had happened to the 22-year-old. Unlike a criminal trial, the purpose of the proceedings was not to determine criminal guilt. Instead, the coroner was required to examine the available evidence and make findings about the circumstances surrounding Revelle's disappearance and presumed death. Over the course of the inquest, the court heard evidence from detectives, family members, witnesses, and people connected to Revelle's final known movements. A significant portion of the evidence centred on Revelle's final appointment with Gavin Owen Samer. Samer told the court that after leaving the McNair Avenue house, he dropped Revelle at the Red Tomato Inn before returning home. He said he spent the remainder of the evening watching Hey Hey, It's Saturday, drank a bottle of Strongbow cider and later went to bed. The court also reviewed evidence that when police first interviewed Samer, detectives observed scratches to his neck, chest and hands, together with what appeared to be a bite mark. Samer maintained the injuries had been caused while surfing. Detective Sergeant Graham Mulherin, who led the original investigation, told the inquest that he did not accept Samer's account of the evening. The court also heard evidence from Select Companions owners Jane King and Zoran Stanojevic regarding the operation of the agency and their movements on the 5th of November 1994. Stanojevic maintained that he had spent part of the evening driving another escort to appointments before stopping to change a flat tyre on his BMW. Another issue examined by the court concerned evidence given by former agency client Mark Colton. A witness alleged that Colton had claimed Revelle had been whacked for moonlighting and buried 10 foot under. Colton denied making those statements under oath, and the allegation was not established. In 1999, Deputy State Coroner Abernethy delivered his findings. He concluded that Revelle Balmain had died on or about the 5th of November 1994. He identified Gavin Owen Samer as the principal person of interest because he had the opportunity to be involved in Revelle's disappearance. However, the coroner found there was insufficient evidence to establish a motive or recommend criminal charges. The investigation remained open. In 2007, detectives returned to the McNair Avenue property to conduct a second forensic examination using techniques unavailable during the original investigation. The search employed advances in forensic science, including DNA sampling and specialised laser technology. The following year, the New South Wales Homicide Squad announced that investigators believed Revelle had been unlawfully killed inside the McNair Avenue house. Police simultaneously increased the reward for information to $250,000 and appealed for new witnesses to come forward. Despite the renewed investigation, no charges were laid. A second coronial inquest commenced in 2024 before Deputy State Coroner Joan Bapty. Over the course of the proceedings, the court re-examined almost 3 decades of evidence, together with new forensic material and additional witness testimony. One of the central issues considered during the inquest was the conduct of the original police investigation. Deputy State Coroner Bapty found that the investigation had been marred by its early and almost exclusive focus on Gavin Owen Samer. While Samer was an obvious suspect because he was the last confirmed person to see Revelle alive, the coroner found that other significant lines of inquiry had not been adequately pursued while evidence was still fresh. The court again examined the evidence of Jane King and Zoran Stanojevic. King acknowledged changing aspects of her earlier evidence. She told the court she had done so because she had lived in fear of Stanojevic and described a relationship marked by coercive control and domestic violence. A friend of Revelle also gave evidence that she believed Stanojevic had become infatuated with Revelle. The court heard that Revelle had been due to attend a 10 p.m. booking with 2 associates of Stanojevic who were said to have links to Yugoslav organised crime. Evidence before the court was that Stanojevic became furious when Revelle failed to attend because he believed her absence had embarrassed him after he had spoken highly of her to the men. King also gave evidence that she could not account for Stanojevic's whereabouts between approximately 6:30 p.m. and 10 p.m. on the evening Revelle disappeared. Deputy State Coroner Bapty rejected key parts of the evidence given by both King and Stanojevic. Their account that they had been together at a pizza restaurant was described as implausible and calculated. On the 31st of July 2026, Deputy State Coroner Bapty delivered her findings. She concluded that Revelle Balmain had been unlawfully killed shortly after she was last seen on the 5th of November 1994. She found that Revelle died at or in the vicinity of the McNair Avenue address before her body was removed. The coroner further concluded that Jane King and Zoran Stanojevic had deliberately lied about matters central to the investigation. In her findings, she stated that the evidence established they either knew who was responsible for Revelle's disappearance, or they themselves were somehow involved. She also concluded that Zoran Stanojevic remained a person of interest who could not be discounted. Despite those findings, Deputy State Coroner Baptiste determined that the available evidence did not meet the legal threshold required to support criminal charges against any individual. Instead, she referred the matter back to the New South Wales Police Force's Unsolved Homicide Unit for further investigation. By then, the reward for information leading to the resolution of Revelle Balmain's murder had increased to $1 million. Neither of Revelle's parents lived to hear those findings. Her father, Ivor, died in 2010, and her mother, Jan, died in 2020. Throughout the proceedings, Revelle's sister, Sue Ellen Simpson, continued the search for answers, honouring a promise she had made to her father that she would do everything she could to discover what had happened to her sister. More than 30 years after Revelle Balmain disappeared, the investigation remains active. Thank you for watching. If you found this documentary informative, please consider subscribing to Oculus Lupi. Your support helps us continue producing carefully researched documentaries. If you'd like to share your thoughts on this case, or have additional information from reliable sources, please leave a respectful comment below.